Bowden Francis might be the best pitcher on the Toronto Blue Jays.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Welcome back. As always, I'm Braden Wasco. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Braden5 Wasco. Carter First, too, as well on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays as well. If you're new here on YouTube, make sure you drop and hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out. You get that little bell notification, too, so you get updated whenever a video goes live. We really want those subscribers. We're getting close to that 1,600 mark, and it's greatly appreciated. You know, it's sort of the dog days of the season, and it really does help us out, and it keeps us at the top of your page. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you're listening on YouTube. Some stuff to talk about today. A big episode coming tomorrow talking about the bullpen breaking things down, so make sure you guys tune in for that one. What will it look like in 2025? How many upgradable pieces will there need to be? But Carter, today, we're talking about Bowden Francis. What a game from him. We'll go over the game. And then a couple updates on some young stars from the Toronto Blue Jays in the third segment. So make sure you guys are tuning in and staying for that. Carter, what a day from Bowden Francis, my man, eh?
This guy just continues to go out and be a dog. He clearly wants to be a starting pitcher in the rotation for the full season in 2025. This guy that's kind of been thrown all over the place. Came out for relief opportunities in 2023. Again, has been in AAA, has started for the Blue Jays, has come in for long relief, has come in some higher leverage situations. Really a guy that's done it all. So it's a guy that I have been very high on. Again, I know a little bit about Toronto Blue Jays baseball, but I also have my fair share of takes that have not panned out very well. My Kevin Gausman being top 10 in Cy Young voting. Not quite there, Carter First. But anyway, back to the man of the hour. This guy, like Chris Bassett said earlier on in the season, he has the makings that can become an ace for your Toronto Blue Jays. And just looking at his stat line today, 8 innings pitched, no hits given up throughout those 8 innings until the 9th inning. The kind of the same outcome, unfortunately, as the Los Angeles Angels start. 8 innings of no hits, an unbelievable start. A little bit less pitches thrown in this. Had a very good 8th inning. Bowden Francis only throwing 6 pitches in that inning. But the home run leading off the 9th inning, Taylor Ward being the Los Angeles Angels. This one being Francisco Lindor. So we're going to get into the Bowden Francis, the game, more so the game stuff, obviously in the second segment. I just wanted to start off with how good Bowden Francis has been. So there's one major switch, if you've been watching Toronto Blue Jays baseball, that Bowden Francis has made. Hasn't just been a light switch, but it's been a work in progress, and he's really seen it come through fruition here in the back half of the season, and that's him adding his splitter. Bowden Francis used to be just the curveball, slider, fastball guy. This fastball was starting to get hit around a little bit. People were starting to sit on it as one of those harder pitches. Nothing to really play off that fastball. Decided to start working on a splitter, thanks to Chris Bassett using his splitter grip. And boy, is this working out very well for Bowden Francis. So his last 7 starts has really been when he's starting to been throwing this splitter that I've been talking about here. And the numbers clearly show that it's been working out. But before I get into those numbers, I just want to just go over the inconsistent season of Bowden Francis. Because April 1st, guy goes out, and on the day of April 1st, this guy's ERA is 11.81. Had so many blow-up starts in a row. Like his first couple starts, 7 earned runs given up, 5 earned runs, then 2 earned runs. So this is where the season started for Bowden Francis, and I just want to just kind of put emphasis on how big of a turnaround this was for Bowden Francis over his last 7 appearances. So Bowden Francis, 4-1 over those starts. That's not really what I'm looking at. 1.5 ERA, 48 innings pitched, 16 hits given up. 8 earned runs only, 46 strikeouts, and the 5 walks. 5 walks is a huge thing for Bowden Francis. Used to be a command issue, and only has 0.44 whip. So I compared Bowden Francis to a lot of these other pitchers, but we'll get into that after I kind of give you a chance to just say how good Bowden Francis has been. These are the numbers of an ace on a starting baseball team. Bowden Francis, over these last 7 starts, has easily been the Toronto Blue Jays' best pitcher over these last 7. We'll get into some more stats to back that up after. But Bowden Francis, Braden, what are you seeing out there that's getting you fired up about him?
Man, he's been so good. I mean, you talked about the splitter, and that's the huge key piece for this. And it can't be overlooked. It can't be talked about enough. Him adding this pitch has given his pitching style such depth. And it's obviously working. And I think the only piece that I have to say is be cautious as Bowden Francis. You want to take in all the glory that comes with being a great starting pitcher. But teams will start to figure out that splitter. And it's new, it's a new pitch. Teams are going to make adjustments, right? We talked about this with Davis Schneider and his sort of great start, and then he sort of came back down to earth. And that's because teams figured him out. And teams will start doing that on Bowden Francis. Pray to God they don't. But it is going to happen. So great for Bowden Francis as of right now. An absolutely electric guy. But again, right, when the league starts to figure him out, the big question is probably next season, will we see him adjust from what the league is throwing at him? And I think that is going to be the biggest question for Bowden Francis sort of moving forward.
That's, again, you look at a guy that doesn't have the most service time of all time, just added a new pitch. Obviously, the MLB takes time to adjust. You look at the Davis Schneider Insanity run. You look at a lot of these runs early on in a lot of players' careers, especially with pitchers. When you get tape on pitchers, it is a lot easier to form an attack strategy that you can implement throughout the entire lineup. So that's going to be a Bowden Francis challenge, probably not necessarily for the rest of this season, but for 2025 and just for his future. A guy that hasn't necessarily been consistent enough to be a full-on starting pitcher for any MLB team, as we've seen so far through Bowden Francis' career, not really finding his footing with the Toronto Blue Jays. But this is a huge building piece to put off of. And the stuff shows, right? The stuff it speaks for itself. Bowden Francis splitter isn't going to get any worse over time, knock on wood. Hopefully you don't anticipate a downfall, but he's 27 years old. The stuff, again, speaks for itself. The slider is moving like crazy. The curveball mixed in well. If he's having his pitches mixed in well with good command, it's going to lead to good results. It doesn't matter if players know specifically that these pitches are coming. If they are executed effectively enough, it's not really going to matter. You look at Kevin Gausman when he has that fastball and splitter on command. It doesn't matter if you know he's going to throw the splitter in an 0-2 count. It's so hard to lay off him because it looks so good for so long. If Bowden Francis can continue to keep hitters off balance and on their toes, taking wild swings, as we kind of use the MLB term, swinging the garden hose out there, had a lot of those swings in this last start against the New York Mets. But again, you look at the future, you need your starting pitching to be consistent for longer than just 7 starts. This has been a great 7-game stretch. And it's proven a lot to a lot of Toronto Blue Jays fans that he should at least be in the question for the starting pitching role. And you're looking into 2025, I think you'd be absolutely crazy if you don't have Bowden Francis right now in that starting pitching rotation. But there's kind of a separate argument that I wanted to get into. So you look at Bowden Francis, and again, you don't necessarily have the career accolades. You don't have that 7 years of pedigree, 10 years, whatever it is, of consistency from Bowden Francis. But you look at how this guy's been carrying himself, and you look at how he's pitched over the season. So his season stats are he has a 3.5 ERA, 92.2 innings pitched, 82 strikeouts, a .93 whip. This ERA is the best out of all pitchers on the Toronto Blue Jays. Like you look at it over a season-long period of time. Again, these sample sizes are a little bit smaller because Bowden Francis hasn't been starting over this full time. This guy is putting up numbers as good as some of the veterans that we have said multiple times that we're not necessarily worried about going into next season. And you look at a lot of these stats over these 7 games. Again, this is a little bit of an unfair comparison because Bowden Francis is playing the best baseball of his life, you could say. And you can't necessarily say the same things about Kevin Gausman, Chris Bassett, and Jose Barrios. But you look at these stats, ERA, innings pitched, strikeouts is, I think, the only one he was second on over the last 7 games. I think Chris Bassett's got to beat on that one. Walks, earned runs, all these important stats. Bowden Francis has been the best pitcher over the last month on the Toronto Blue Jays. You look at the August pitcher of the month. The biggest question is consistency. Right now, you have a playoff series tomorrow. I might have Bowden Francis over some of the likes of Jose Barrios, Kevin Gausman, and Chris Bassett. But that's not reality. That's not where we are in Toronto Blue Jays baseball. If this guy can prove a little bit of consistency, continues to pitch effectively throughout spring training, I think you got to have this guy at minimum as your 4th starting rotation guy, and maybe can work his way up, maybe to see a playoff appearance for the 2025 Toronto Blue Jays.
And that's what you got to hope for, right? It's just building upon the stuff coming out of this year. And we talk about this all the time. It's finding your game in the last little bit of this season to be able to carry over into 2025 with confidence. Confidence for baseball players, as we always talk about, is one of the biggest components to their game. And Bowden Francis looks like he's going to be carrying over a lot of confidence. So great for him. We wanted to sort of focus in on Bowden Francis because he's been so amazing. But Carter, there's a lot more that happened during this baseball game that we need to talk about. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with way more from this game against the Mets.
Today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play fantasy sports because it's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you can pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Prize Picks is very simple to play. I can make my picks and submit my entries in as little as 60 seconds. So obviously there's no Toronto Blue Jays game the day that this episode is coming out. But the Toronto Blue Jays season is coming to an end. So I'm just going to let you guys know what I place my picks on when the Toronto Blue Jays aren't playing baseball. So obviously, I'm a big NFL guy. I go receiving yards, passing yards, rushing yards. Yards is usually a big thing. You go more than or less than. You can go touchdowns. That's usually at 0.5. But then I also like to go in the NHL. There's shots on goal. You can do hits. You can do goals. You can do points. You can do so many different things. I encourage you guys to check out all the different attributes on Prize Picks. Perfect opportunity to get into the unique side of sports and bet on some things that maybe aren't advertised by the common sports book. So you can download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for first deposit matchup to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for first deposit matchup to $100. Prize Picks. Run your game.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You guys all know we talk about FanDuel all the time, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you now through September 22nd. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with your YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. We talk about this, me and Carter, big football fans. We're locked into fantasy, and we're trying to watch every game, or a lot of the games anyway. So we're going to be taking advantage of this offer, and hopefully you guys will as well. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So, Carter, getting into the game, we sort of went over Bowden Francis and his electric start today. Let's sort of go through it a little bit because there was a nice play by Davis Schneider to sort of keep the no-hitter alive. Makes a nice little jumping catch at the wall there. I know you wanted to give me some grief for putting him as the DH and not as the left fielder. But what a great play from him.
Yeah, he looks like a natural out there, and it's a guy that literally has not played any outfield throughout his baseball career, and you slot him in there kind of halfway through the season, and he looks like a natural out there. Again, I've said that he's maybe not going to make the flashiest plays. Maybe I'm wrong about that as well. Maybe David Schneider is an above average outfielder because this was a very nice play to keep the no-hitter intact that Bowden Francis did have at that time. Again, he just timed it very well, jumped at the perfect time, embraced for impact on the wall, held the catch in, and that's what you want from a guy like Davis Schneider. If you can, and again, with the DH thing, it wasn't necessarily a shot at Davis Schneider per se, but he gives you more value in the outfield. If you can play a guy in multiple different spots and he can be effective there, why would you want to stick him at DH? This doesn't make a lot of sense, especially when you have some guys that aren't necessarily as defensively inclined as Davis Schneider. So with him, yeah, just another great catch. And again, got to pump my boy Bowden Francis's tires just a little bit more for this episode. He was pitching a no-hitter into the 9th inning, even though his fastball velo was almost 2.5 miles per hour down. So he normally sits at 93.1. Today, it was at 90.8. And this all comes with the command. You look at a guy like Hyun-Jin Ryu when he was here, a guy like Marco Estrada, the Marcus Stroman kind of aspect. These guys aren't fireballers. They're not necessarily blowing the wind off our sails with the numbers on the dial on the radar gun, but they are commanding pitches. They are painting corners, and they're really artists of the game. You look at Bowden Francis, and you look at the one thing I thought was interesting too is you look at the start against the Angels that he carried the no-hit bid into the 9th inning. Look at this start. He had 12 strikeouts in that Los Angeles Angels game. He had 1 strikeout in this Mets game. So again, he wasn't blowing pitches by anyone. He was getting really off-balance swings. People were out way in front of the slider, curveball, splitter, or just way late on the fastball. You saw Nathan Lucas 7 putouts in right field. So that obviously explains how Bowden Francis was keeping hitters, timing, off pace, and just a great start from the guy. Exactly what you want. But okay, so that's the 8 innings. That's all I got from the 8 innings. You get Davis Schneider, I guess, nice RBI way to rip down the first base line, make sure that's not a double play. You get to the 9th inning. So I've said on this podcast so many times that baseball games don't matter. I'm not as mad when the Toronto Blue Jays lose. Let's recap the losses that we've had in the last little bit here. You get the Atlanta Braves, defensive meltdown. Addison Barger just throws the ball into Narnia. You score there. You get the New York Mets one. More defensive misplays. Not a very good team game. You lose game 1 of the series. And then you get this game, another defensive miscue. But then you get Chad Green, the blow-up start from hell, just walking the entire house, not having very competitive at-bats. And then obviously the Bowden Francis moonball door didn't help as well. But man, this is starting. I'm starting to get more emotional about the Toronto Blue Jays again because they're losing in just the craziest ways of all time. It's frustrating to lose a baseball game. I don't care. I tweeted this as well. We could be a million games out of the playoff race, a million games out of the playoffs, not playing that. We could be playing a little league team for all I care. If you're up in any capacity in the 9th inning and you end up somehow losing the game by 4 runs, that is an embarrassment to your baseball team.
Yeah, dude, it is frustrating. Like I was watching this game and I was so pumped because Bowden Francis, oh my goodness, almost a perfect game or a no hitter. And then I go and look and it's over. Like I was so pumped, so ready to rock. And I was at the point where I was, sort of getting bored. It was very, very low energy game, but outside of Bowden Francis. And then all of a sudden it goes down the well and is what it is. And it is frustrating. It's frustrating when games are in reach and your baseball team still can't win. You have it. You think you have it. You get an absolutely unbelievable electric start from Bowden Francis and you can't even get him the win. It's just so frustrating. And like you said, you talk about how, yes, we're so far out of it. We shouldn't care, but we're still watching. I don't think at any point in any, fan base, any time you want to see your team lose. Yes, it might help you statistically for a draft pick or whatever, but at the end of the day, I don't care. I'm still mad. If it's not Shohei Ohtani is the next prospect, I don't care. Like, I just want to see some wins. That's it. It is frustrating. Chad Green looked horrible. I mean, it was just, oh, dude, I don't know. It was a throwaway after Bowden Francis.
Just in no command. 3 walks are given Mets players, free base runners, especially when they have something to play for. You saw how elated their bench got when Lindor hit that home run because they are battling the Braves for a wild card spot. So that's something that Toronto Blue Jays fans unfortunately don't get a taste this year, just meaningful baseball at this time. But when we say meaningful baseball, I just want to preface this as well. We don't mean that these games don't matter at all for the player development, for player stat lines, things like that. They obviously just don't mean anything for the standings and the Toronto Blue Jays 2024 season because we can't go anywhere no matter how the games end up. But if Vladimir Guerrero Jr. goes 0 for 50 to end the season, that is going to be a meaningful thing to look into for 2025. I don't even want to wish that upon him. I want all the best for Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but there is still meaningful baseball up there. You still want people to have good outings. Again, Chad Green's had a very good season. Not necessarily worried about him in the long run, but boy, was this ever a stinker from Chad Green. Just no location with the fastball. Just, again, a lot of pitches over the middle. And then a lot of pitches that just weren't competitive pitches, obviously leading to those walks. Then Henry Cabrera comes in, 1 pitch that's just sent to the moon by Alvarez. At that point, it took a lot out of me not to turn that baseball game off. I knew the Blue Jays were done, but I did end up finishing it out. Not to much avail yet. Addison Barger single, I guess that's cool. I drive in another run to make it a very close game of 6-2. But yeah, it's a terrible loss, an absolutely terrible loss, and just a very tough one to stack on to just the embarrassing losses that we've had in the last couple of days here. But kind of going away from Toronto Blue Jays baseball a little bit here. We saw the Mets obviously come into town, the Braves as well. From your just viewpoint, again, being an AL East team, not really seeing the Braves and the Mets, do you have a favorite to make the playoffs here? Do you care which one does? Maybe just a little bit of bias. You might like one team better than the other. Maybe a skill position. What are you seeing from these two teams?
Yeah, so
for who's making the playoffs as well.
Yeah, do I care who makes the playoffs? No. You know what? I think the Braves are a much better team. I know that they were having injury troubles when they came to Toronto, but I think they're a much better team. I really am not on the Mets hype train right now. I think they're fine. Do I think they're going to blow anybody out of the water and even win a series in the playoffs if they make it? Probably not. To me, they're fine. Again, that's a lot coming from me, a Toronto Blue Jays fan. But at the end of the day, no. The Braves are a much better team, and we'll see what happens. Again, because they play a lot of other teams, and you got to see what happens there. I'm not sure what their schedules necessarily look like. But yeah, I think the Braves are a better team at the end of the day. Who do I want if I had to pick one? I'm probably still going the Braves. I like the Braves, and I'm not a huge Mets guy, so whatever. Take that as you will. How about yourself? You got a favorite?
I would rather see the Mets in the playoffs probably. Sean Manaea just all of a sudden is just like the second coming of Christ for some reason. I think since the All-Star break, this guy has the lowest opponent average. So just congrats to Sean Manaea. But when you're looking for like the firepower, the Mets, you got Lindor, you got Pete Alonso, guys like that. But I don't know if you necessarily have the pitching depth from the starting rotation standpoint on the Mets. You look at the Braves, obviously you got huge hitters like Michael Harris, you got Marcell Ozuna there, Matt Olson. The Ronald Acuna stuff, it really sucks for me. Schwallenbach is having a lot better of a year there. So, or not a lot better, he's a rookie, but he's having a very good year there, bolstering that starting pitch depth with Spencer Strider out. I want to see the Mets there, but I think the Braves do end up squeaking it out. It's just kind of fun to just go on two teams that you don't necessarily see a whole lot and don't really have a ton to do with the Toronto Blue Jays. But I guess for me, internally, the Mets are a lot closer to a Toronto Blue Jays team and makeup that we could see in 2025 than the Atlanta Braves are. So I think subconsciously I do want the Mets to make a run because then I can maybe just self-believe myself and maybe be a little bit delusional about the Toronto Blue Jays making a little bit of a playoff run in the 2025 season. But other than that, from this game, bad bullpen stuff. You hate to see it. Just another typical Toronto Blue Jays loss. They love losing in a million different ways. They no hitter into the 8th inning, and you lose the game by 4 runs. That's Toronto Blue Jays 2024 season wrapped up, all in a nice bouquet for you there.
Yeah, dude, it is frustrating, and you know what? It comes at a perfect time because we're about to talk the bullpen tomorrow. And that should be a very interesting episode. How many spots will there be available moving forward into 2025? We will discuss it all on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Blue Jays. We always appreciate you guys making us your first listen. If you want to find a second listen, make sure you go check out Locked On MLB with host Paul Sullivan Sully. He's got all the big storylines from the MLB, sort of league wide. So make sure you go check that out. But we really do appreciate you guys watching ours. So if drop a sub if you haven't already. We still got a segment to talk about here, some young stars. We'll get right into that right away. Today's episode brought to you by Tonal. When life gets busy, fitting in a workout can be stressful. With Tonal, you can get an efficient workout personalized just for you and are available with the amount of time you have. Tonal is the world's smartest and most effective strength training system that helps get you stronger. Powered by AI, Tonal learns with every rep so it can deliver workouts personalized just for you. Tonal learns from your movements and provides suggested weight recommendations for every move with detailed progress reports. They can even create personalized programs and workout suggestions or recommendations based on your individual goals. It's just like having a personal trainer at home with you, as Tonal will optimize every workout just for you. Unlike traditional gym equipment, Tonal uses adaptive digital weight to advance your training tendencies. Right now, Tonal is offering our listeners $200 off your Tonal purchase with promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Tonal.com and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $200 off your purchase. That's Tonal.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $200 off your purchase. So, Carter, we had some young stars to talk about. I'm going to kick things off with my guy here. Trey Yesavage has been added to the MLB's top 100 prospects. Good on him. Blue Jays draft pick. Obviously, he's not too high up in that MLB pipeline. He is number 99. But it's good to see a Blue Jay in there, eh, Carter?
Yeah, and I believe that is our only one at this time, with Ricky Tiedemann and Aravis not being on there. So it's nice to see a guy that you draft in the first round making his, I guess you could say, debut on the MLB top 100 list. a guy that we're hoping develops. We're hoping we could see probably more realistically in 2027. 2026 would be amazing, but that might again be a little bit jumping the gun on that one. He looks good at college. Again, a guy that's 20 years old, a fireballer from the right side, very tall guy, gets good extension. So has the dimensions, has the skill set there. It's just whether he can build and work on that. Obviously, something that we're going to be majorly focused on in this offseason. But focusing on another pitcher that I just wanted to give a quick update on is Jake Bloss. And unfortunately, not the greatest update for Jake Bloss. He's had 6 starts with the Buffalo Bills this year. 4 of them have gone exceptionally well, and 2 of them have not gone well at all, especially that last one. Gave up a grand slam over a 3-inning appearance, 7 earned runs. Yeah, it's just not going to get it done. 2 strikeouts. You can't give up grand slams and have a good start in a baseball game, believe it or not. Coming to you live from Locked On Blue Jays with some big reports there. But with Jake Bloss, again, these things happen. It's probably not going to be pulled up at this point in the season. I don't think that's a hot take either. You'll see Jake Bloss probably in spring training next season. Maybe makes an impact on the Toronto Blue Jays starting rotation in 2025. Hopefully he plays into that impact, and it's not something that we have to kind of rush his development for with injuries, stuff like that, knocking on wood. But you look at right now, the starting rotation for the Toronto Blue Jays, probably the best facet of the team when you're splitting it into like 3, I guess, like very broad spectrums of starting pitching, relief pitching, and then just offense or fielding positions. So, the starting pitching, if you can get another guy for Bloss that has a little bit of depth there and can make an impact in 2025, I'm not going to hate on that. But yeah, not the greatest thing from him, unfortunately, for this most recent start. But I got another thing on another guy that was recently in the top 100 list, and that is Orelvis Martinez. His suspension technically goes till September 23rd, but he still is able to play in the minor leagues 15 days before that. So getting that much needed playing time after that 80-day vacation that he decided to take. Hopefully he's having a little bit better of a time getting his business taken care of over there. You got anything else to add about any other stars, any other Blue Jays news that you kind of heard along the grapevine, other than just a tough loss to the Mets? You got 4 errors in last 4 games, including the last one, the Braves series. And the Mets winning 2 out of 3 with 13 hits over the 3 games. So congrats to them. They need the wins more than we do. Probably helps both teams better off in the future anyway. But that's where I'm at with Toronto Blue Jays baseball on this Wednesday and Thursday as it's coming out.
Yeah, dude, it's tough out here. You know what? The good thing is that there's never a lack of Blue Jays news, especially if you're talking young stars, stuff like that. We know not everybody's completely dialed into these young guys or don't necessarily care right now, but we do because they're the future of this team, and we hope to be doing this podcast for a long time coming. So, these are guys we might see in the future. That's why we're sort of keeping a little bit of an eye on them and giving you guys an update when we can or when we hear something interesting. I guess as we continue, Carter, here sort of into tomorrow, we got a big episode coming out, and we'll get into obviously the series preview tomorrow, everything like that. So it's going to be a fun one. We already got it all planned out, so we'll have that one to you guys early tomorrow as well. But besides that, I mean, this has sort of been I don't know. It feels like it's been a quick week for me. I don't know if you sort of feel the same way, but I don't know. I feel like this week has just zoomed by.
Yeah, it's flying a little bit with Mets baseball. I don't know if that's just because we don't see them a whole lot, but yeah, that 3-game series flew by. Obviously, as it's coming out, it's Thursday. That's 60% through the week. So congratulations to everyone listening to this. We're over the halfway mark, so that's awesome. The only thing else that I have to say is just Bowden Francis lead us to glory. That's all I got. Just continue to be dominant and. Maybe Bowden Francis will be the ace of the rotation and being your pitcher that leads off opening day for your Toronto Blue Jays. What a world that would be.
Oh, I don't know. Hot take, but watch out for it. Anyway, guys, as always, thanks for watching. Make sure you drop that subscription if you haven't already. Go check out Locked On MLB with host Paul Sullivan. He covers all the big topics going on in the MLB. And make sure you tune back in tomorrow for the big bullpen episode.